Hi, I'm Jean Walsh with SuncoastDreams.com, your top producing real estate team here in Lakewood National Golf Club. I'm on the third hole of the Piper course today, and you have this beautiful view, and the golf course is incredible, and so are the amenities and families that live here. If your dream is to live on a golf course with amazing people, please feel free to give me and Vince Vizzacaro a call at 941-220-4000.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh, and whatever special guest he has today, you can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good, and follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Jean Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at SuncoastDreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the show. We got a good one for you. One of my dearest friends in the golf world is our guest today, Joal Harding. We go back 40 years to junior golf. She was from the South, and I and some of my friends, the Riley brothers, who have all been guests here on Party Time, My Golf Story, we're from the North, but we would get together, and the common denominator with us, and I think with everybody that watches the program, is golf. And we love it so much. And we like to express it and tell stories about where we've been, what we've done, things that have inspired us, the good times, the bad times, because that's just honest conversation. I think that's the goal of what the podcast has always been. Party Time, My Golf Story, a deep dive into what your golf story is. Business update. We are now at 9,500 subscribers. How did that happen? My goodness. I think because people like what we do and they share the podcast with others. And if you are one of them, please continue to do that. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe and like the program and maybe leave some show notes because that makes a big difference to our sponsors. Big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, if you're tired of beer or hard seltzers, try a Party. I mean, it is liquid gold. It'll help you with the swing lube if you're looking for some of that, or just take the edge off, socializing, whatever it is. Party is the golf drink for you, for golfers, by golfers. And the golf real estate pros of Jean Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro, SuncoastDreams.com. If you want to live in a golf resort community like Lakewood National Golf Club, where we broadcast from, then Vince and Jean are your folks to take care of that. All right, so enough of that. Let's bring Joal Harding on board. There's my friend. I knew we would get around to this at some point. I just didn't realize that it would take you authoring your first book. Here it is, The Golfers, the Groundhog, and the Enchanted Putter. For those that just listen to the podcast, I'm holding up a copy of Joal's book. You can see it on YouTube. Very proud of you for that. Proud to be your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just looking forward to having a good conversation. How's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Let's start with your name. I've always been intrigued by it. I love it. Joal. What's the genesis behind it?
My dad's name is Alan Joseph, Alan Joseph. So they got creative and took the J-O and the A-L and reversed them to come up with a name that I have had to explain since I could talk and will forevermore.
But you know what? I like it. It's cool. It's original. I didn't know all the creativity behind it, but to me, it's a good conversation starter. Do you look at it that way, or have you ever struggled with it?
Oh, absolutely. It's been great. Even growing up in the classroom, everybody else's name, John and Joe, are being called. And then the teacher comes to my name and I have to be assertive and raise my hand. And I think that's a very good learning and ability to have when you're young, to be able to speak up for yourself. So I started young.
Okay, cool. Where are you joining us from? Where's home for you now?
I am in Bradenton, Florida.
All right. And life is good. I know you became a grandmother for the first time. We can get into that. You have 3 beautiful daughters. You're You are, by the way, I want to tell everybody, but you are the best woman golfer I've ever seen play in person. And I knew you were good when I first met you 40 years ago. And there's a backstory on that. But where does your golf story begin? When did you start playing? And I think you had a much more accelerated path than the rest of us.
Well, thank you for that. That's incredibly kind of you. I started golf at 13 in River Hills at River Hills Country Club in Lake Wylie, South Carolina. And I had played tennis and I was a swimmer and I was on the team in both of those. And at the country club, of course, there's golf. So my dad decided to put me into the golf program there. And all I was told since the start was what a natural swing I had. And that was it. That's all my dad needed to hear. All the other sports were null and void. And it was the golf path from there.
I mean, did you love it at first sight or first strike? I mean, how was it? Or in some ways, did you feel like you were trying to validate others' thoughts of what your life should be as somebody that was clearly a natural talent from the beginning?
That's a good question. It's a little bit of both. More when I began, I continued because of the feedback that I was getting and the surprise that people would have from other kids to adults and professionals, saying how natural and talented I was. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So I continued and then fell in love with it, I would say.
There wasn't a lot of space for junior golf girls at the time. So you had to go maybe a different route than others. You started playing with the boys. What's the backstory behind that?
Yes, very true. There are about 3 other girls at the country club and there were plenty of boys. And so I started off playing with the girls in little junior events, and then I started beating the girls and they didn't like that. So I started playing with the boys and they were so much more fun to play with. Yep. And then, sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I mean, was it inspiring because they played differently, or was there a social dynamic involved in it? You tell me.
Yes, the social dynamic. You've got young hormonal teens. So much fun. I mean, you've got these strong boys, and I'm a strong, tall girl. I've always been tall. I'm still 6 feet tall, not shrinking yet, but when you are around boys who are that strong and can stripe it, and even if they don't hit it in the fairway, you can hear how that ball hits their golf club, and you want to keep up with, well, I wanted to keep up with them. I wanted to prove that I could play with them and keep up with them, and the banter and fun that we would have both on and off the course. We would play a lot, all summer, sun up to sundown. And then on some days we would go out to the lake and we would go slalom and water ski. And so it was a great all around fun.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And I think, when I first saw you play, you just didn't play like a girl. The power was there. Your swing was beautiful, but there was so much power. So I guess I'll just tell the backstory. When we first met, I was with the Riley brothers, Will and Hugh, who actually have kind of prominent roles in here. Hugh is named in your book, The Golfers, The Groundhog, and The Enchanted Putter. Will, and we'll get into that, was very helpful in the storyline of it. And then there was me, and we were playing at the Tar Heel Junior at Whispering Pines in North Carolina. And you kind of crashed our threesome. We were on the second hole. It was a par 3. And we were playing it all the way back, and you came running up with your golf bag and you're like, "Hey, can I play with y'all?" And, we're like, I mean, it'd be hard to say no because that'd be rude. And you were single and we had room. And somebody said, "Well, we're playing the back tees." And you're like, "That's fine. I'll just play with y'all back there." And we all hit, it was like 180-yard par 3 uphill. Will and Hugh, who were a bit stronger than me because they were 4 and 5 years older than me, they hit 4 irons in the bunker short. I hit a 3 iron in the bunker short. So it was probably playing about 190, 195. And then you got up and just ripped it and knocked it pin high. And then we looked at, you didn't see this, but we looked at each other like, what the hell just happened? And then we asked you, hey, what'd you hit? And you're like, 4-iron. And we're like, oh my God. So I take it though, that was not an uncommon experience for you, because when you hit the ball, it was different than other girls. You knew that, didn't you?
Yes. I was a lot further than other girls in my junior tournaments that I would play in. I would at least fly over their drives. And, I was always the last person to hit my approach because I was the furthest. And so I was used to being the long hitter. Yes.
Now, was that intimidating to them? You're good at reading, but you can figure it out. I mean, do you know that's going on and that's another tool that you have?
Yes. And on the flip side of that, when I would have, say, a smaller young lady that I was competing against, although you're playing against the course, but you've got your people that you're in your group with, right? So I might be hitting an 8-iron in, and they are, which would sometimes drive me nuts. They would be hitting maybe a 5-wood or a 3-wood, and it would land about 30 yards short of the green, roll up to the green 8 feet, and I've just pured my 8-iron in there 10 feet. And they now, you know what I'm saying? So they could roll it up there almost as well as I could fly it in there.
Yeah, sometimes. I got it. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to skin a cat and play golf. Yeah, I've seen some really good roly-poly golf in my days. My coach at Purdue, Joe Campbell, the late Joe Campbell, man, he played roly-poly golf, and I beat him one time. That's it, and that was the thrill, because he could get it in the hole. I mean, bottom line, that's all that mattered. I want to go back to your club days. Hulk Hogan was a member of your club. Well, what was that like?
Yes. So River Hills was a private community. It was gated. We had our own police, and guards and all the rest. So Hulk Hogan was a member. He wasn't at the golf course very much, but he was around the neighborhood quite a bit. And there would be lots of stories told of security and the police having to go to his house. These were in his days of lots of steroids, and obviously rage comes with that. So he has since tempered since then, but it was fun to see that long, straight blonde hair and that huge, beefy body around River Hills. Absolutely.
He seems like a golf course would seem like the last place that you'd see somebody like him, but you never know who's going to show up. Now, you got good at golf really fast. You said you started playing at 13. How long before you were shooting par?
Shooting par? Gee, your memory is better than mine in some cases. All I know is that I had to ask my dad about when I broke 80 because he's got an incredible memory of all of my golf shots. So I broke 80 when I was just over 13, so it didn't take very long. But I would say shooting par, I wish it was consistently, but I would imagine the first time I shot par, I know on 9 holes when I shot par, I was still 13 because that's what made the other girls mad. But for 18 holes, I would say I was probably 14.
Okay. But that's how quickly the game came to you. Within about a year, you were about scratch or knocking on the door. That is the most accelerated path that I've ever seen. Did you feel pressure from your dad? In my experience was like, I think my parents were hands off, but the fact that they joined a country club at no small expense, really, there was an expectation that I was going to put in the time and play well and hopefully get a college scholarship out of it. I don't think that story is mine alone. Did you feel that as well?
Yes. I'm sure. I mean, even with the juniors that I teach today, I see the pressures that the parents put on them. But yes, in my case, there was plenty of pressure and from my dad, and it was just something that I knew that this was my path, and I was going to get a scholarship to play golf in college, and then I was going to get on tour. There just wasn't any question about it. That was my path, and I was doing what I needed to do to get there.
Joal Harding, former #1 amateur in the world, 3 years on the LPGA Tour, is our guest here on Party Time. My Golf Story brought to you by Party Drinks and also the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. What's the story about you breaking your nose at a junior golf tournament?
So it was right before an international event at Coral Gables Country Club, the most gorgeous club that I had ever played. Most beautiful clubhouse. It's still there today. It was an international event where all the college coaches come and they scout out the junior players for their colleges to decide who they want to choose to come have recruiting trips. So it was the day before we were going to leave. Of course, I was going to go to the golf course and get some more practice in. And I was getting ready, and I have really bad allergies. And so I sneezed humongously and went down and hit the bridge of my nose on my marble countertop in my bathroom. And blood just started pouring all down my face, everywhere on the floor. And I just ran out of my bathroom to the stairs and called up to my dad and said, "Hey, I think I broke my nose." And he just yelled down. He didn't even come to the stairs. He just yelled down, "That's okay. We'll get it fixed when we get back." And I'm like, okay. I cleaned up. We went to the course.
So your dad would
get it fixed.
No excuses. Your dad was tough, right?
Yes, there was, and even in the book, I credited him. You do it right, or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I like that. Well, did you have any recurring nosebleeds like during the round? I know you were very particular about your hair and your makeup. Did that like kind of mess up like the jam, like all that comes with getting ready and looking nice, look good, feel good, play good?
Right. Yeah. Look good, feel good. No, it's no issue. I just had, some black eyes and a little swollen. The flight wasn't the most comfortable flight. I do remember all of that pressure. But it was fine. And I had a lot of coaches look at me. So that was good. Okay.
All right. Cool enough. Going to Auburn, why there? What was the recruiting process? What were your options and why Auburn?
So the recruiting options were, there was Florida International, University of Miami, and Georgia, and Auburn. And I had gone to those other schools for their recruiting trips. Had a fine time. Some of them were a little more serious than others. University of Miami, incredibly serious. There was no messing around. You knew that if you went there, golf, and you were going to perform, which was fine. That's what I was going to school for, and studies, of course. But when I went to Auburn, the feeling was, as soon as I entered the city, it was just such a culture where, and growing up in the South, I already knew what nice people were, and hospitality and kindness. But when I went to Auburn, it was next level. Every person that you pass on the street says, "Hey," and that's hi in Southern language. So it's hey, hey, hey. They don't need to know you. I went through a drive-through for lemonade at Wendy's one day, and the woman acted like she was my best friend. I mean, so along with, they had a decent team. It was growing. They had some good players. The coach was really nice. The recruiting trip was fun, parties with the other athletes and all that.
Okay. Stop. Tell me about a recruiting party.
Well, it's kind of fun when you go to a party and you've got 7-foot basketball players and 6'7" 325-pound linebackers and nose guards, so they can pick you up and throw you down. And then the rich history. Bo Jackson had just graduated. Frank Thomas was still there. He was playing both football and basketball, dating a good friend of mine who was on the tennis team. So the social aspect of all the other athletes, and some of them were incredibly talented, not just there for the college experience and then go get a 9-to-5. They were going to carry on to be professional athletes. And that is really what stirred me to, and put the fire in me to go there and be
sure
there.
You felt like you could ride that wave too. You could make your own path, but like some of that greatness, maybe some of it will fall off on you. And yeah,
I wish that's not the way it works. I wish, but I never thought that. But it was fun to be around it. Yes.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes.
Oh.
And to see the work that the other guys would do. And I reference the men because that's what I grew up with, playing with the men. But to see the work that they had to do, football players, basketball players, baseball players, tennis players, the track team. I mean, and here I am, golf course. We know that it's an athletic sport and you need to keep the body fit and do your working out. But during the game that we're playing, we're not, maxing out as these other athletes were doing. So yes, I saw that work and was like, okay, it takes work.
What's the lowest round you ever shot, competitively or socially, just where you just lit it up? So
I've not a great memory. It was either 65 or 66. I have a feeling that it was 65 at Timaquan I know that it was a futures event. So that used to be the mini tour for the LPGA. And, I won the tournament. It was a 2-day event and it felt like, it's like when you're driving and you get somewhere and you don't remember how you got there. That's how I felt when I finished my round. Even going into 18, I knew I was playing well. I didn't know how well, but I just knew, wow, I must be shooting a very low number here. So it literally was like floating on a cloud and truly in the zone, and everything's just feeling great. And
so tell me this, did you ever, because I always wonder about this, we all think we know what the zone is. Are you ever doing, like when you were at your best, were you doing math in your head or you just got lost in your golf? Because I'll tell you, for me, I was always doing the math in my head. So if I got to 5 or 6 under, I'd be thinking, this is pretty good. Let's just get it in. I don't think that's the best way to go. What's your take on it?
You are right. That's not the best way to go. But it's nice that, you're aware and you have a goal. So that's super. I have an old mantra that I used for myself when I was playing. And then when my ex-husband was playing in his events, it worked for him as well, because I was able to coach him a bit. And it's just shot by shot, hole by hole. So it really keeps you present. And because I stayed so present, I would be, let's say it was a collegiate event and I was playing number 1 and walking down the fairway and my teammates have already come in and they're like, what are you shooting? What are you shooting? They're trying to calculate if we're going to win the tournament. And I'm like, oh, I have no idea. So I couldn't help them because, I was just playing well. And sometimes even when I wasn't playing too well, I don't really think I was clocking it.
Yeah. So ignorance is bliss when it's going well, or maybe when it's not going so well, you're not beating yourself up because you don't know what the total is. So how many SEC titles did you win?
Well, I did. Again, I don't think I won any.
Well, the the team won, right?
Yes, we won. Let's see. I think we won 2.
I think that's right. Tell me about the parties. Like, how good of a celebration is that?
Oh, well, too bad we didn't have our party with us then. That would have been fun. It was a lot of fun. And that's where the hard work that we did, or that I did, and the team did, and we come together, we could relax and just really have fun and relive the shots and the game and the places that we have been. And when we're back on campus is when we could let our hair down.
Well, okay, I want to know about that, because I'll tell you my golf experience at Purdue. Like, we had the nerds on the team, and then we had the partiers, and the nerds rode up front in the van, and the partiers were in the back. And there were some beers in the back of a lot of dipping and a lot of beers in the back, and the nerds would look back to like, "What are you guys doing? That is so bad." And we're like, "Turn around, mind your own business." Did you guys ever do any of that stuff? I mean, if you want to incriminate yourself, go ahead. I just did. Any shenanigans? Come on, give it up.
Maybe in high school on the boys team. Yes, absolutely. But not in college with a bunch of other girls. Not a whole lot of fun, actually. But like I said, when we got back and we got to party with the other teams, then it was fun. And the golf team were, pretty clean. And of course, we always had drug tests and things like that. It was amazing to me how some of the other teams would be doing a little extracurricular, recreational, I'll say, things. And I don't know how they didn't get pegged.
They got away with it. All right. It's old news. It's old news. It's in the past. So then turning pro. I mean, that was a no-brainer. You were going to do it. But the moment you did it and then you got in the professional ranks, was it like, okay, this is a whole different level? What was your experience?
So in between going pro, which is kind of part of the story, after college, I had the ligament that attaches your collarbone, your clavicle to your humerus, had completely detached. And if I wanted to continue playing, I need to have surgery and have some screws put in there to make things all better or as good as they could be. So after college, when I graduated, I was asked during NCAA's actually to represent the United States in the World Cup in France. And of course, that was a resounding yes. So I did that. Then I came home, had the surgery, and then I got on tour. So,
No. Stop this. So you got through Q school, your first crack at it?
Yes. And the same year I had the surgery on my shoulder.
Holy smokes. What was, I mean, I know about the guys and the pressure. What was the pressure like for you?
I would say that there was some pressure, but I just kind of knew how to manage that excitement. I would go out and run 5 miles before the tournament, before the round each day. So that was a way for me to clear the mind, think, get that energy out, harness the endorphins, and then do the work. So there wasn't, I would say, a lot of pressure. It was just that I knew I needed to play well, and I just had to everything needed to come together in order for that to happen.
Man, that's a cool head, because I'm sure you know them, and I know them, guys just talking about choking their guts up,
Yes.
not being able to get off the toilet, just feeling like their head's going to explode.
Yeah.
They can't breathe. None of that for you.
No. I had done so much study with Tony Robbins, Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant Within, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer. So I was armed and ready for what was coming at me and what I was getting myself into. So I felt armored.
Let's tell some stories about pros you've met and just cool stuff along the way.
Okay.
What's the Ben Crenshaw story?
So at the time I was married, and I was with my husband at the time, and we were going to the PGA show when it used to be a spectacle. It's still great. But as you know, in years past, it was like going to Vegas for golf, and you would have all, Greg Norman and Nick Faldo and Ben Crenshaw. And of course, again, 6-footer here. Ben, not quite 6 feet, a little more slight in stature.
Yeah, gentle Ben.
Yes.
He was a little man.
Yes. So, I'm not sure which booth we were in, but he was all dappered out. He had on the tweed jacket and his pants, his golf dress pants. And I just remember reaching out to shake his hand and tell him what a pleasure and honor it was to meet him with all of his great victories and just what he had done for the game of golf. And his putting, of course, is what he's really known for in my eyes. And I just remember feeling his hands, and I'm used to, the guys, of course, that I hung out with, and even my own, from the cord grips, slices on my hands, and very rough. And his hands were like a powdered fluff, huge marshmallow. They were so soft, and I couldn't believe it as I was touching his hands and shaking them. That is the number one thing that stuck out to me, was how soft and pillowy his hands were. And I thought, oh, no wonder you're a great putter. Your hands are so soft.
Yeah.
You can feel things.
Yeah. Was it like putting your hand in a silk glove? Just putting your hands in it. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Even softer. A silk glove with pillows.
What about Nancy Lopez?
So Nancy was awesome. When I got on tour, I had the opportunity to play with her a lot in practice rounds. And she was married to Ted Knight at the time. And so I would see him once in a while. So, you're rubbing shoulders with greatness. And Nancy was always very forthcoming with information. From Nancy, I learned that, and I hadn't really thought about it before. We were on a par 3 and it was lined by trees. And obviously the flag, 7 feet tall. So it's not waving or anything. And we were talking about which clubs we were going to hit. And I was like, gosh, there doesn't seem like there's any wind. And she said, Joal, look at the trees behind and to the side of the green. Look at the treetops. Don't just look at the flag. And I can't believe I'd gone my whole junior career not looking at something higher and at my destination. Right. So, anyway, she was just not standoffish at all and very kind. My first event, we were in Hawaii at Ko'olina Country Club, and the clubhouse, gorgeous. The locker room, you go down a hill and it's underneath the clubhouse, and they would have huge tables, banquet-sized tables of sushi and everything that you could imagine. So we're both walking down to the entrance of the locker room, and I'm thinking, oh my stars, this is Nancy Lopez. This is before I got to meet her, got to get to know her, my first event, right? And I step out of the way. Oh, please go ahead. And she was so kind. She was like, oh, no, you go. It's fine. And I was just blown away at how the greats, her, Beth Daniels, and a couple of the others, the women who were accomplished were so kind. The women who weren't as accomplished were not. So it was really nice. And Hollis Stacy was also, her locker was right next to my locker. And our birthdays are the same. So she must have somehow looked me up, because she said, hey, I'm Hollis and you and I have the same birthday. And I was
that's
like,
cool.
Oh
that
my
gosh. Former U.S. Open champion. That must have made you feel real good and like a somebody.
Yeah. It was just nice to be welcomed, because that was some territory that I hadn't, been in before.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's but some others, it was territorial, and they're like, oh, they probably wanted to show, okay, we'll show you, kid. You think you're good. You're about to find out what's good. Did you, when you played the 3 years that you played, did you feel like your game was as good as anybody else's, but you were fighting injury, like pretty much your whole tour experience? You tell me.
Yes. So I knew I had the swing. I knew I had the ball striking. I could stripe a 1-iron like nobody's business. I had, one time I had a tour caddy. Sometimes I would just have regular caddies.
Stop for a second. You had a 1-iron?
Oh yeah, Kevin, back in the day when you had a 1, a 2, and a 3.
Well, how many women had that? All right. Not many, right?
Yeah. Not many. I had a caddy who was a caddy for one of the better players. I think it was Beth Daniels' caddy that I had that time. And he was suggesting, he knew the course that we were playing and had to carry some water. And he's like, oh, you better lay up, just do the smart play. And he hadn't really seen me play before. And I said, no, I can hit a 1-iron, then no problem. And he was like, you think so? Yeah, I can. And, you just send it. So, those are the shots I miss. Sometimes people will ask me, do you miss playing? Do you miss competing? And those types of shots, banging a drive and, striping a 1-iron and, chipping it in and making those putts. Sometimes I miss that. But, What was your question?
No. That was I was just so busy listening, and I was thinking about telling my 1-iron story. I found an old 1-iron in one of my bags. It was a Wilson Pro Staff 1-iron, and I looked at it a couple of years ago, and I almost broke out in hives. I was so scared. I'm like, how the hell did I ever hit that thing? Holy smokes! I mean, it looked like a butter knife. Looking down. I forgot to ask you about Chi Rodriguez. You had a relationship with Chi, and he was. He taught you a lot about just making people feel good about themselves when clearly your golf was better than theirs.
Yes. So at River Hills, Chi would come every year. I don't know if it was for possibly the member guest or the member, but it was an event for the adults to play. And I was a junior golfer at the time. And Chi and I would go to number 3, which is a par 3 at River Hills. I want to say it was around 160. And remember, Chi would take his club out and he would use it as a sword. And so I would hit balls with Chi when the different groups would come up, and the players had the opportunity to use our ball if it was a better shot than their balls. But Chi, what I learned from him was how personable, and again, how somebody so accomplished can be so kind and open and giving and comical and relaxed and make other people feel relaxed and welcome. Because you can imagine you're just a member at a club, and here is the great Chi Rodriguez. Maybe people our age and older remember who he is. But I'm telling you, if you don't know who he is, look him up on YouTube and find some great footage. Just talk about a slight of a man, very small in stature. But his golf positions, man, could he strike that ball so solidly. But he was He took a rip at it. And trust me, our viewers and listeners, they know who he is because we're kind of an older crowd anyway. They know exactly who you're talking about and how he was. Let's talk about the transition, moving away from competitive golf. You mentioned some of it and parts of it that you missed. But really, in the end, your body told you enough was enough. Is that what happened? Yes, thank you. That was the question. We were circled back. Mm-hmm. So yes, when I was out there, I knew I could hit it. The one area of my game that needed more help, and that I do with my juniors today, is really work on the putting. My coach didn't work with me nearly as much as I realized that I needed to be working on that. At the time, I didn't realize it either. Being a young junior golfer, 13 to 15. But that is my body during my time on the tour it was very hard to play day after day. And the back was already compromised prior to getting the screws in the shoulder. And then once the tightness from the screws in the shoulder, the doctors say that then the lower back just said, hey, peace out. You can't do this anymore. And so it was pretty excruciating, I will say, and I can take a lot of pain. But it came to the point where I couldn't play anymore. And that's when I decided I just had to shelf that. I did what I wanted to do. And I was proud of that achievement and accomplishment and enjoyed my time out there. But I knew that the body absolutely couldn't do it anymore. So as much as I wanted to continue, there was nothing that could be done. So I decided to have my family, which is just lovely and brings me incredible joy. So I had my 3 girls, and all golfers, all D1. But more than that, they're just wonderful young ladies on this planet. And after having them and then getting divorced, I needed to find a way to support the family. And golf is what I knew and loved. I did a little bit of teaching while I was, a stay-at-home mom, but that was my main job, stay-at-home mom, best job ever, in my opinion. And so then I just got into teaching. I would go teach while they were at school, and I'd be home by the time they got home from school, or I'd pick them up and take them to their sporting events. So it was great. And I really enjoy teaching so much. And I can see what's coming in my students. It's like a painting coming together. Even imagine a paint by numbers, and you're painting all the blues and then all the greens, and then you're starting to see the browns, and you're like, wait a minute, what is this that I'm seeing? And sometimes the student doesn't feel it and they can't see it, and the frustration is there. But I reassure them, hey, I know what's coming. Let's keep it going. So, yes, I enjoy.
And
teaching.
the joy comes with that. I imagine, like when they flush a shot, that's a nice high for you too, not just them.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that way with caddying. When somebody makes a putt and I read it and I know I was a part of it, it's like, I made that putt too. I don't tell them that, but that's how I feel.
Yes.
Did you ever hate golf?
Never. Now, I thought I hated my dad a few times. Just when you're a teenager and your dad's telling you, hey, get off your right side, get off your trail side, get through it, keep your spine angle, don't move your head, stop swaying. You want to say, hey, hush. But I never hated the game.
That you are an outlier with that, because almost every competitive golfer I talk to at some point, because the game is so humbling, at some point it just it beat up your body, the wear and tear of it, and then just how it messes with your mind when you're not playing well. It's just like, why am I torturing myself this way? That's cool that you kept the love throughout all that. Let's talk about the book. All right.
Yay.
I'm gonna show everybody the book here. Have a good look here. So for those that watch online, Joal, you're gonna disappear for a sec. All right, there it is. The golfers, groundhog, and the enchanted putter. Okay, come on back here, Joal. What's the genesis behind it? What was the inspiration? Why did you do it?
So the inspiration behind it, what it started with was Will Riley. I was explaining to him some of my junior students that I teach, and we talk a lot, as well as you and I, we keep up. And Will was telling me about a book that he had, kind of a skeleton story about some junior golfers. And he said he just wasn't going to do anything with it. He has so many projects that he's working on, other books and movies and all kinds of things. And plus his family and his wife and his career. So he said, hey, you're passionate. I know if I gave you this skeleton, you would take it and run, wouldn't you? And I said, let me see it. And sure enough, I fell in love with kind of the outline of the story. And I just filled it in and grew it to what it has become today, the first in a 3-part series.
That's cool. So let's get into some of the details of it. So the main characters, Maria is the girl, and she falls in love with golf, gets very good at it very quickly because the putter has some magic in it. Is that a little bit of Joal in Maria? Because when fictional stories, I always know there's an element of truth and nonfiction. You tell me.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. The characters, the names, the places. There are a lot of similarities to my own life's journey in this book, for sure.
Okay. And you've shared a lot of your life journey. So as folks read that, I think they're going to back up and think, I remember when Joal was telling Kevin this. The magical putter. All right. So what it is, I don't want to give it all away for free, but it's an old putter, and every time the girl putts with it, she putts lights out. So there's some inspiration behind it, but some magic behind it. Was there some, if you're a part of it and part of the main character, was there some magic behind your life? Was there wind beneath your wings, somebody in your life that really uplifted your spirit?
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Yes, I would say just my awe, or not just golf. That's why I like this book so much, because it's about the integrity and the honesty and the camaraderie and how the game can be solo and the majesty. I'm looking at, I live on number 3 here. The majesty that is the walk on the golf course is what I try to put into this book, to try to capture a little bit of that, because as you know, there are so many people who are not golfers who haven't experienced this game, and they really don't know what they're missing, because it's more than getting a little white ball in a hole. And that mystery and magic, and just to be able to share that, even if it was only a person having a singular experience with themselves and nature on the golf course, and then being able to share that with family and friends and business and use it as a tool for growth and for people to be kind. It's just endless how great this game can be, and we can play it until the end.
That's beautifully said. You didn't cry. You almost made me cry. And you kind of answered one of my questions, because I usually ask people at the end of the interview, I just say, tell me how much golf has impacted your life, what it means to you. I think you did that without even me asking the question. Final question for Joal Harding. Former world number 1 amateur golfer in the world, played the LPGA Tour for 3 years, golf instructor, one of my dear friends from the past. If you had one tip that can help anybody, your silver bullet, what would it be?
I'm going to make it 2 because they're connected. Is that okay?
That's fine.
So, number 1 would learn P1 through 10, positions 1 through 10. Kevin's going to link it in the show notes. Very, very simple. Number 2 is to video your swing. Greg Norman said, feel isn't real. You don't know what's happening in the swing. So many recreational golfers today are watching YouTube, reading a golf magazine, listening to their buddies, and they don't even know where their own body is in space. So learning position 1 through 10, very, very simple. 1 is the setup and 10 is the finish. So you really only have 8 other ones to learn, and they all mirror each other. If you can have a road or a path that hey, this is the path my club optimally needs to be close to. It's like driving your car and staying between the yellow and the white line and not going off the shoulder into the bumpy road, or even worse, OB, right? So having a pathway or an idea of where the club should be in relation to everybody's own posture, stature, body size, female or male, and then doing the old highlights thing and the people our age will know this, back page, highlights magazine, you would find the differences in those two drawings. Remember those, black and white? And you would try to figure out what was different. That's
it was in the dentist's office, like the high.
We had it delivered to the house.
Oh, aren't you cool?
Wait for that thing.
What?
But it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. People can learn, oh, gee, my arms are not straight. My arms look like a dinosaur when I'm coming through the golf ball. I'm looking like Barney. I don't have a beautiful triangle that I started with. Simple things like that. So just learning where their own swing and where their body is in space. Number 1. Number 2, video it. It's free. Everybody's got a camera in their pocket these days. And you want to video it. You want to look at it and see, are we moving all over the place? Are we bobbing up and down like a jack in the box? See what's happening in your own swing and go from there.
Well, if it's good enough for Greg Norman, I suppose it's good enough for us.
And I'm here for you. I teach virtually. I teach
know.
people everywhere.
You do. Joal, thanks for coming on the program. Thank you for writing this book and sharing it. I think it'd make a good Christmas gift for a lot of people. There are parts 2 and 3, and I'm glad you included our friends and your life story within that. And it jumped out at me right away. And I think for your readers, it'll jump out at them as well. And I'm looking forward to parts 2 and 3.
I'll put you in the next one.
Okay. That'd be great. Hey, thanks for all you do. Thank you for being my friend. And I wish you nothing but the best. All right.
Thank you.
Joal Harding has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drink. You got something, Joal? Go ahead. Hit it up.
Yes, I forgot.
What?
A portion of the proceeds. One of the main reasons that I wrote this book as well is because a portion of the proceeds are going to go to the Dr. Christie KC organization. Again, Kevin will link the show notes. So that is an organization for families who have lost a parent or a family member and who are going through cancer therapies, and they take care of expenses like rent or bills and utilities and groceries and things like that. So the link will be in the description. They take donations anytime. Dr. Christie was a dear friend of mine, and she has 3 kids and a husband who she left behind. And I want to do everything that I can. And I'm hoping this podcast will reach a lot of people because that organization is doing a lot of good since her passing.
That's so nice. I'm sorry for your loss, but this is a great way to honor your friend. Thank you. Thank you, Joal. For Joal Harding, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
Hi, I'm Jean Walsh with suncoastdreams.com, your top producing real estate team here in Lakewood National Golf Club. I'm on the 3rd hole of the Piper course today, and you have this beautiful view, and the golf course is incredible, and so are the amenities and families that live here. If your dream is to live on a golf course with amazing people, please feel free to give me and Vince Vizzacaro a call at 941-220-4000.